Good morning, team. Morning. Good to see a few of the early birds jumping on for another Wealth Coffee Chat. Welcome along. Good to see you guys. Alison, Nathan, in there early. Give us a shout out in the chat if you're in today. Hey, there's Deb, Nick, cold and wet Melbourne. Yeah, well, I was about to complain. I was actually thinking about that, Nick. I was thinking, oh, gee, it's a bit chilly in the Gold Coast. Nothing compared to Melbourne, I'm quite sure. So I was down there the other day. I was down in Melbourne having a nice time, caught up with some of my team, and went around and saw a couple of great pieces of real estate. Melbourne's a good town. It's coming back, folks. It's coming back. Morning, Sean. Morning, Phil. Now, whoever the Facebook user is there, sometimes we can't see you if you're in one of the groups. So let us know who you are. 7 degrees. Woo! 7 degrees. That's crazy. Well, stay warm. Stay warm. Hey, good morning. Monday, marvellous Monday, May 30. Hey Denise, another Wealth Coffee Chat back with you. Those who do not know, but most of you should or probably do already, my name's Jason, as it says down there, and been doing these Wealth Coffee Chats for a couple of years now, and I've been property investing over 20 years, coaching property investors, maybe just like you, over 18 with my crew across Australia and New Zealand. Along the way, we've learned a few things. We've done a few property investments. We've helped our clients buy lots and lots of real estate in the many, many thousands. Matter of fact, across Australia and New Zealand, each morning we hang out for about 20 minutes, usually 8:10, give a kick-off, 8:10, 10 past 8. Usually hang out for about 20 minutes, just talking about the world of property investing and making sure we can all make sense of it. We've got a couple of sayings. Anyone new here? These are our sayings. This thing's a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to take time. It's going to take time, team, to build your property portfolio. It will be a good 10 to 15 years minimum. 15 to 20 years, absolutely optimal. And the idea that you buy some really good real estate, buy well, and never sell it. We don't do buying and selling here. It's not my thing. It's not my gig. Does it work? Sure, absolutely. It's just not what I like to do. There's too much risk. To be honest, it's too much bloody hard work. I prefer to just buy it, and then it just goes up in value the longer you keep it. Especially when you buy something excellent. Good. Anyway, that's the drill. If you're new, that's kind of who we are, what we do. Welcome to Mark, Andrew, Lewis there. Good to see you. Phil. Good to see you too. Hey, listen. This morning, I thought I'd talk about the conversation that's going around, talking about the idea that regionals, the regional towns, the regional properties, the regional towns are blowing up. They're growing. They've got better growth than the capital. Tell me in the chat right now if you own a bit of real estate in a regional town. Now, there's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek conversation, right, going to go on today. Maybe. But what is the definition of a regional or the regions? And you got to be careful of this because I tell you what, sometimes the media hams it up a little bit, don't they? They might be a little bit, let's say, misleading or leave out some definitions. Joe's in a regional area, yeah. I've got some investments as a definition of a regional. But we'll see. What do you guys think? Chuck it in the chat for me right now. I'd like to know. What do you think the definition when it comes to capital growth measurements is a regional? Tell me give us a town. Chuck a town in there. What do you think a regional would be defined as for a town in any of the states, let's say? I mean, the eastern states are the easy ones. Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Canberra, etc. Acreage, yeah, definitely, Joe. Ravenshoe. Okay, Ravenshoe. Hey, Joe, you up in, is that Townsville, Ravenhoe? Close to Townsville, Charters Towers. Joe, let me know because I grew up in Charters Towers. There you go. Went to high school there. I know Ravenhoe very well. I've probably got family still there, actually. There you go. Anyway, Ballarat, Bendigo, Geelong, Shawnick. Yep, absolutely. What do you guys think? Because the definition of a regional is not as far out. It's not as far out as you might think. And I wanted to talk about that today and just have a little chat about, what these things might mean to us as property investors. And maybe is there something we should do about? Yeah, and there you go. So I think for Joe, you're certain that's certainly country. That's but the majority of the volume, being reported for this growth activity, even though, Joe, where you are, the acreage blocks are selling like hotcakes and so on, there's not enough volume, let's say, in Ravenshoe, Joe, to move the dial, okay? Move the dial when it comes to reporting average growth stats across like a whole lot of things, okay? So the volume comes in this reporting when the media talks about, hey, the regionals are growing like hotcakes. And what does it look like? So let's have a look at this, right? I think this is the dumbest way to measure real estate on the planet. Measuring growth monthly is stupid, right? The real estate market is not the share market. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a tip right now. You should completely ignore this rubbish. That is complete and absolute rubbish. Real estate's not liquid. It's not a fast-moving investment vehicle. And trying to measure it monthly is just dumb. It's just dumb. Like what happens when people go on holidays. I mean, you'll see it in a little bit. Actually, I didn't have that stat actually today. When they go away for Christmas and New Year, when they go away for, Easter, people just, stop buying properties. And then that month it's gone negative. What a stupid way of doing things. Anyway, a little rant there. The real estate market is not the share market. So don't behave in that way. I'm telling you right now, it'll mess you up. But my point of today's conversation is to say, let's have a look at this. Check this out, team. Check it out. These definitions, rest of New South Wales, okay? Rest of Queensland. Check out the rest of Queensland, okay? Where we go? Rest of Tassie. There we go. Rest of Tassie down there. And rest of SA, over here. Now, if you have a look at the rest of these other cities, when we're dialing in today's conversation, hey, morning, Luke, mate, always good to see you, mate, no matter what time you show up. If you have a look at the rest of, tell me why you guys might think, and I just want to sort of go through some rationale here this morning and maybe chuck a few things in the chat. Tell me, what do you think, close to, or the rest of New South Wales or the rest of Queensland is like blowing up? Now, the answer is, and probably the rest of Victoria. I missed the rest of Victoria as well. The rest of Victoria, because the definition of a regional when it comes to these statistics are not predominantly Ravenshoe, Joe. They're predominantly other towns. The city's too expensive, yeah. But how far do people go from the city to find less expensive real estate? And that's the question. So let's have a look at this. Let's have a look. No, but I just want to show you something here. The definition. This is always, it's good. I actually really like Property Track. This is done by realestate.com. They actually do some very good stats and they give you the definition of what this stuff is. Because I look at this and go, yeah, what's the definition? Like, where are those cities? Like, which ones do they have in there? And so let's go have a look at this. Let's go have a look at this. Follow me along this morning. This might be a bit all over the place, maybe, but I want you guys to sort of see what I mean here, because when we see a headline in the marketplace or in the newspaper or reported and you're like, oh, wow, the regionals are exploding. Well, what's the definition of a regional? Okay, let's have a look at that. And we jump over here to the old ABS website and blah, blah, blah. You can have a little look here. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit and I'm going to find the bit where it says, this is the definition here. and it says Greater Sydney, and then the rest of New South Wales is not Greater Sydney. So Greater Sydney, just like the circle around Sydney, and then places like, Wollongong, the Blue Mountains, Gosford, Newcastle, those sort of locations, they are the rest of New South Wales. And this is this kind of interesting definition when it comes to the rest team. Geelong's a regional. Yeah. So Geelong is actually an interesting one. Geelong, the Melbourne stuff. And this is just my opinion. This is my opinion when I'm saying, I wonder what this stuff looks like, when it comes to this thing. The closer the bigger regionals are, we've got big regionals, right? Call it Newcastle, call it Wollongong, call it the Blue Mountains, right? Blue Mountains, right? The closer Sunny Coast, the Sunny Coast, the Gold Coast, the Gold Coast, and Toowoomba, all right? So the closer these large regionals are to that capital city, it seems that there's better capital growth the closer they are, which is interesting. Victoria, a little bit further away, a little bit more to travel, like you're saying there. Luke, 70K away as we go. So Rob asked a good question. What are the Queensland regionals? Now the Queensland regionals are anything that's not Brisbane, Rob. Okay, so you literally, you come to the Gold Coast, you go to the Sunny Coast, you go out to Logan, because it's Greater Brisbane. So you got to find the definitions and go, well, what is it then? It's actually not too far away. And where is the volume of transactions to show those numbers? Okay, so the volume is not in the smaller regional towns to show up. Even though there might be some good prices and some good value there, the volume is in those as close as possible regionals, defined as regionals. Anyway, that's making that stuff work. So let's have a look at this stuff. I grabbed a little bit of data from good old RP data, Core Logic, and you can have a little look at some of these things, right? So you got the Gold Coast. Gold Coast have had, pretty significant 9.4. All of these have had some pretty good ones. Coffs Harbour. So Coffs got some nice growth as well. So, this one, Gold Coast, is literally Brisbane. I mean, Brisbane spreads almost from, Tweed Heads. Oh, and Tweed Heads is down here too. Check out Tweed, right? Tweed Heads. Tweed Heads, boom, had some growth. So Brisbane almost, like, let's face it, team, it kind of spreads from Tweed Heads and further down now too, all the way to, Noosa. And so when the infrastructure is in these towns and cities, that stuff, connects these things together. You've got Hunter, which is pretty good. And when you look at this, on average, that Hunter might be still pretty good value when it comes to how close the cities are. When you think about these things, which of these closely located regionals have the value when you look at this stuff? How far from the city are these ones when you look at it, right? These might be worth a look, when you have a look at the different places. I'm not a big fan of Tas personally, but some people are, but not me. But there you go. What do you guys think in that sort of space? Like, at the end of the day, yeah, that's a good definition, Alison. When your grocery stores turn into IGAs, that's when you've hit the regional area. Yeah, well, there you go. We've talked about this sort of investing before. I know Sam has, when you have the Bunnings, the McDonald's, the Woolworths, the Coles. If they're not in those towns, they do a lot of research. Sometimes that sort of stuff can be like, well, maybe that population isn't that desperate or whatever it might be. Yeah, and it's a funny one. like I've positive, grew up in regional towns. We were positive cash flow 2003. Actually, we started in 2001. We changed our name to Positive Real Estate. In 2003, we've been in every positive cash flow regional town ever in existence. We've done deals everywhere. The challenge, the long-term challenge is, are there jobs that are local to those towns that will sustain those prices and rents into the future? And one of the lessons, the harsh lessons myself and others learned when it came to the regional boom, especially attached to mining, when those mining jobs left those towns, those house prices and rents declined significantly. Unfortunately, I think that that's still possible for some of the further regionals, the ones further away from the cities, not these localized regionals. Like seriously, folks, Gold Coast is 20 minutes from the edges of Brisbane. Not even 20 minutes. That's 10 minutes. It's like, it's nothing. That's not a regional, but it's defined as a regional, and the same as other places. So, when we're thinking about this stuff, it's always important to understand, what those populations mean and capital growth and whatever. And if you have a look at some of these regionals, well, you're having a look at the largest towns in Australia. This is from McCrindle. I really like his stat stuff. But you look at, there's the big cities. And then, next is sort of Gold Coast and Newcastle. They're bigger than Canberra. Bigger than Canberra. Oh, this is a bit old, by the way. This is 2017. That was the newest one I could find. I'm sure there's a newer one around, but I just couldn't find the thing. And the Sunny Coast and Wollongong, are bigger than Hobart. So, interesting when you have a look at this sort of stuff. But anyway, there you go. Hopefully that made sense today when we're... yeah, that's true. Yeah, it takes forever to bloody drive from Brisbane to the Gold Coast on a Friday. Or even any time during the week. But listen, team, hopefully that made sense. When you're seeing some of the data come out and you're like, oh, should we chuff off to the regionals and buy some regionals? Well, it's not necessarily that much less expensive. Did you see those prices? Remember, check it out. Look at these prices here. I mean, the average house price ain't that cheap. So for some of us, there's a rationale needed for a check if we're thinking that. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. All I'm saying is, what's the definition of regional? And can your money purchase better, closer to better infrastructure that's better and more consistent for your long-term wealth? Anyway, there you go. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted, folks. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. Join me tomorrow for another Wealth Coffee Chat. As always, if you ever have anything you'd like me to chat through, talk through, whatever it might be, there's a lot of buyers agents pushing old regional towns because they think investors need yield. Yield's not what you need. I'll tell you that right now. You need to cover your expenses if you can, but there's a lot of good ways to do that, and certainly some great buying opportunities in good capital cities. Anyway, we'll talk about that one at some point. That's a good conversation, Alison. You're right. So listen, folks, Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted for Monday. Join me tomorrow, Tuesday, for another one coming your way. As always, if you've got something that you wouldn't mind me talking through, let me know in the chat. I can pick that up, make a Wealth Coffee Chat about those sorts of things. Anyway, there you go. Done and dusted. Finished on time today. Started on time. What a good way to start the week. All right, team. You guys be good. Be well. Mentoring tonight. Join me tonight. Remember, mentoring is on tonight. The great rental boom ahead. It is on like Donkey Kong, folks. It is going mad out there. We manage over 1,000 properties in our business, and I can tell you the pressure is on. And if you don't know that, if you're sitting there going, oh, interest rates have gone up, I think my property price is going down, if that's all you're thinking about, you're in the wrong headspace. So come along to mentoring. We'll pump you up because the rents are blowing up everywhere. And if you've got a lazy, useless property manager, you're going to miss out. Sorry. There are some out there. I didn't mean to be offensive, but sometimes that's just the way it is. Anyway, there you go, folks. I'm just dribbling now. You guys be good. Join me tonight for mentoring. Tomorrow for another Wealth Coffee chat. Bye-bye. See ya.